You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Let's get spooky. You found Earth Station Boo, where horror lives, legends linger, and laughs are always waiting. Stay with us. You know you're dying to listen. And welcome to the Spooky and Kooky podcast of Earth Station Boo, where we talk all things horror. Introducing our haunted hosties with the mosties. We have our lovely Lisa.
Hello, groovy ghoulies.
We have our kick-ass Karen.
What up, my horrorholics?
I am your spooky Shannon, and today we are going to be talking about the OG zombie film, or zombies as we know them, Night of the Living Dead. And we're here with our friend Jake.
Hi there.
So, let's get spooky. Are you a horrorholic? Then take your horror obsession beyond the podcast. Check out Earth Station Boo's merch store for killer designs to let the world know that you live for the scares. You can also join our Discord and hang out with fellow little ghouls, talk monsters, movies, and midnight madness. And if you want to support the show directly, visit our throne to keep the screams and laughs coming. Find everything in our link tree, and remember, stay spooky.
Tired of the same old boring podcast? Ready to spice up your ears with a slice of everything? Then you need to listen to the Cosmic Pizza Podcast with hosts Dan, Casey, Paul, and Sean, who will serve up a delicious smorgasbord of chat, from deep dives into pop culture and personal stories to history, retro gaming, and even a bit of Star Trek. So, if you're hungry for conversations, interviews, and general fun, grab a slice. Find the Cosmic Pizza Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes served hot at the beginning of every month.
Alrighty, our lovely little ghouls, our fellow horrorholics. We do have a first-time guest with us, Mr. Jake. Would you like to give a quick introduction before we dive into this awesome movie?
Yeah, my name is Jake. I am a theater teacher by trade. I've been teaching for 27 years, and I teach theater and film. And I'm a definite horror devotee. Love the genre. It's probably my favorite genre.
Rock on, rock on. So, yes, we are going to be talking about Night of the Living Dead, the OG, the one that codified zombies as we know them, despite the fact they actually never utter the word zombie in the entire film. This amazing film came out in 1968. It was written and directed by George Romero, along with his buddy John Russo, because they were tired of making commercials. So let's dive in and just chit chat about this amazing film. So what was everybody's initial thoughts when they, the first time they saw this bad boy? What went on in their minds? Lisa, do you want to give us a start?
Oh, man. I remember I first saw it on Creature Feature back in the day, and I think I was about 12. It creeped me out because of everything, the whole atmosphere and everything. And it gave me the heebie-jeebies. I mean, seriously. And I was a little gruesome at first before I had gotten my taste for gore. So, yeah, I loved it.
Rock on, rock on. Karen, how about you?
Well, I initially didn't see the original version. I saw the one with Tony Todd, and then I realized that they were growing up. I was like, oh, there's an original version. Okay. And so I saw it and I was like, whoa, these zombies aren't like the traditional zombies. They're actually ghouls. And they're kind of self-aware in a way because they could use weapons. That was kind of neat. And I enjoyed that interpretation of a zombie slash ghoul. And, looking back at everything that happened in the movie, it had a lot of social implications to it, because I felt we'll get to the ending. If you haven't watched it, you need to watch it, but spoilers alert. But yeah, I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah. Jake, how about you?
My first, I think I saw this way after my first any Living Dead movie was Return of the Living Dead in '84. my dad was nice enough to take me to that movie in the theater, even though I was like 12. And definitely,
Sounds like my dad.
yeah, I was going to say it wasn't supposed to do that, but I saw that one. And of course, it was, again, very similar. Like, I didn't know much about any other zombie films beyond that. And then I kind of sort of deep dive after I could, get access to other ones. And so I don't know that I saw this one until maybe I might have even been in college by the first time I saw the original. I don't remember exactly when, but I remember seeing it and kind of going, okay, yeah, that was all right. At first I was just like, yeah, that's a cool one, but it's older and, it was fine. I didn't really, I was more into trying to find all the blood and gore, you know what I mean? I think then I was like, that's serviceable. And then I think after that, I may have seen it like one more time, and then I just watched it last week just to kind of refresh. And I was like, "Oh, this is a really good movie. I really absolutely enjoyed it this time around as an adult."
As somebody who loves old films, especially like the black and white or black and gray ones kind of deal, I always love when I can see like a horror one. So I think I saw this one, I think I was in high school when I watched it, but we were watching like a ton of different zombie films. But I loved the dynamic throughout the entire film, like how the story was told. I was like, this is such a good story. Like it kept you intrigued the entire film, whether there was zombies coming after you or you were like sitting there just listening to the radio with the characters. So it was a fun movie just to watch. And it was one of in the area that I live in, we have this gorgeous old theater in one of the downtowns, and they actually show a lot of the old school movies on this massive screen slash stage. And this was one of the films that I got to see on the big screen that they showcased during the Halloween season. And it's even better on the big screen. Like I don't know if Romero really thought he was making like a big screen type film, but he was. Like it just hits different on the big screen than it does on like your regular TV. But let's go ahead and kind of dive into this. Night of the Living Dead is kind of famous for it being the like lowest budget, highest grossing film. It's like 260 something percent increase from budget to what they made. But yet it has effective storytelling and it does a lot. So how does this film's raw aesthetic and just practical effects really contribute to the tension and the atmosphere and just the overall maximizing of such a minimum tools essentially to make it? Jake, you want to start?
Sure. Well, this kind of reminds me. I was watching once again last week, and I teach a film class, and they have to do essentially no budget films all the time in class using whatever they have around and usually the school grounds or something. But they're really creative a lot in what they do with just that very limited sort of budget and, materials, like you said. And that kind of felt the same way about this movie, just saying, okay, well, I guess we got this house we can use, and we got a couple cars, and that's probably all we have. And okay, we got some practical effects here and there, but for the most part, this is what we have. And I think it's funny. I don't know that you need a whole lot more if you have a really good story and you can keep the tension going like this one does. And I do believe, like you said, and we'll talk about this later, but the really cool way that they use the media and stuff to kind of keep the story going. I think that was a really smart way to not have to like find, special effect sort of solutions or whatever for those moments in the film. You can just keep it nice in one set, one house, which again, as I'm going to tell you, the more locations and sets you have, the more complicated and more expensive it gets, which is why it's just so effective. We are trapped in the house with them. And I think I think that's what makes it a very effective film.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that. Karen, how about you?
I think because it's such a closed location, it is very, horrific and terrifying because you're with people you don't know. And because, like, Jake said, because you're in one location, it doesn't cost that much. And the fact they didn't have to use a lot of makeup to make these ghouls makes it even more terrifying because you're like, are you a ghoul or are you a person? Oh, you're eating me. You're a ghoul. Okay. And so when, Romero didn't dress up, all these people into zombie makeup, it made it, kind of realistic for me because I'm like, if I'm becoming a zombie, I wouldn't look like, a walking corpse. I look like a person who looks like me. And the fact that it was such low budget, I didn't realize it was low budget because the story made it rich. You had, your individuals in the house with clashing personalities. You had the radio going, telling people what to do, what not to do, watch out for this and that, and this whole radiation thing coming down, causing the dead to come alive. So you really didn't have to have that much practicals, and I love that. And I wish we could go to, more storytelling and less practical effects. But with our day and age, we need like a lot of technology,
Always
I guess.
special effects.
Always special effects.
Yeah. As our special effects guru, what do you think about it, Lisa?
Oh, well, I actually liked the way the lighting was because it made the special effects feel more real as far as that and creepier because you had the way they filmed it on such a low budget it was great because the minimal effects, the isolation of that one house, just using all of that, and the lighting that they used, and you're in the house with strangers, like Karen said, everything, it just added to everything. I think you felt like you were more in the movie. And yeah, the fact that not all of the ghouls were dressed up like ghouls, they were like regular, they looked like regular people, except for a few. So I think that, in my opinion, it worked very well for what resources they had.
Yeah.
I mean, I rewatched it last week and I was like, wow, this is just amazing. And it still holds to this day.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like not going to so many places and having so many different rooms and scenes and stuff like that, definitely helps with, your budget and everything. But just even being able to like reuse different spaces for things, like the house that they filmed in didn't actually have a basement. It just had like a dirt cellar. So the basement was actually where they did all the editing for the film. So so you have all of that. And then on top of that, they used a not quite abandoned, but a very less frequent cemetery to be able to shoot at. So like they used the resources in a way that, it was cheap and it was effective, but they were like, all right, how can we do this? And even some of the people who helped invest in the movie were some of the ghouls that we had. And so it's kind of cool to like see how people who invested in it were like, yes, I want to be a part of this. And the fact that like that kind of helped create what we have. They were wise and they were passionate and they got people involved in it. I mean, even like what the zombies were eating in the one scene was leftovers from the cast and the crew's lunch, just covered in chocolate syrup, which that kind of sounds disgusting. There's a few scenes where I'm like, ooh.
I would have done barbecue sauce for ribs and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? So they were smart about it. Although they did want to have Tom Savini in it, but he was he was over in Vietnam at the time.
I would have to say one quickly, this was a better crowdfunded movie than The Creeping Terror.
Fuck yes, it was.
Oh, yeah.
God damn, that was such a horrible movie. Please go rewatch that or go check out that episode if you haven't already, where we just sit there and say, oh God, why? Oh God, why did we have to watch that? It's such a horrible film. The film is often viewed as a reflection of social anxieties, especially in the time of the 60s. We've talked about it on the podcast. I think if we've said it once, we've said it 100 times, that horror is a reflection of our reality. It's a reflection of our society, our culture. It shows who we are as human beings, the good side as well as the bad. So with this film having that reflection, including race relations, Cold War fears, civil unrest, how do these themes kind of resonate within the film's narrative? And how relevant do you think it is today?
I mean, with the ending of the movie, like, how are you going to shoot a person between the eyes when you see he clearly has a gun and creeping up to look and see what's going to happen? Like, did you shoot him because he's a black man with a gun, or because you thought he was a zombie? You didn't say hello, are you there? And it kind of is a reflection of, today's society, where if a black person is holding an object, oh, it's automatically a gun. I could be holding a cell phone.
Yeah.
And, and what got me, I don't know if it got anybody else, but I was like, where was this movie filmed? Because there was only one black person. I didn't see any black ghouls.
Pennsylvania,
Like,
outside of Pittsburgh.
so you tell me there's no black people in Pennsylvania?
Oh, no, there's a ton of black people up there.
Okay, so I'm like, why is
There's
there
a
only
ton of
one
black
black
people up there.
person? Because it felt, I have to say, it felt like it was like, in some small town in Mississippi or Alabama, where there's one black person in a sundown town, and you
No,
just had all these white ghouls coming after, people. And
actually,
especially
all of the towns that they
I felt
mentioned,
kind of scared.
all of the towns that they actually mentioned in the news, real things, and the radio show and everything were actually real towns in Pennsylvania. They actually had to plaster when they first showed the film. This is not real. These reports that you're hearing are not real, because it was actually a very popular news reporter out of Pittsburgh that was the announcer that you heard and saw on the TV. And so
Yeah.
they had to be like, yo, this isn't real. please don't believe that this is real. But yeah, it's all up there just outside of Pittsburgh. So
Yeah, but still at the same time, it made me feel like I was in, like, a small little town in Alabama or Mississippi, because of the fact that I was like, oh, he's in a sundown town. He's the only black person here.
yeah.
But the whole tension between the people, it was like a Cold War in itself, because you have Ben being like, we need to do this. You need to be rational. You need to, do this, do that, do this. And then you have the other man, I forget his name right now. I watched it, I forget his
Henry.
name. Henry. He was like, no, he was like set in his ways, kind of like how, most curmudgeons are set in their ways. And I'm like, you're going to die. You're going to die in this basement.
They all died, so yeah.
Which was kind of sad, because I was like,
It
you telling me
was.
all these people, so, not one person's going to survive this one little house? Is basically it's going to be the apocalypse, where the nuke comes and just destroys everybody? Because that's what I felt. I felt like,
if you think about it, it's kind of realistic.
yeah, but I felt like, at least they should be one survivor. But then again, for me, the zombies were an allegory for the nuke, because, they're coming and you just can't stop it.
Yeah.
And look what happened. Everyone just gets radiated and or eaten.
Yeah. Jake, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just gonna totally agree, and I think the sort of the nihilistic ending, but also the fact that like nobody survives, really does play into that whole, Cold War, kind of mentality. But also, I think it was a little bit, again, the hero dies at the end. That's a real, you're following this guy the entire time, and you are thinking, yes, this is the guy that's going to make it, and technically he does, until the last little bit. I mean, I think it was a really, for me, beyond just a horror movie, like, to kill off your protagonist at the very end and say, well, that's it. That's a big move. That's a bold thing to do in any movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with Karen on the where were the rest of the black people. It did feel like a sundown town. Yeah, it did have a cold, desolate Cold War where and Henry was set in his way. So whenever Ben was trying to say, let's do this and this, he's like, no, 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 which was kind of the racial thing in there a little. And I'm sorry, I wanted to smack Barbara. She was just so helpless. And I'm like,
yeah.
And that was a typical woman. I hate to say it, that's just how women in the 60s, some of them were. They were just so helpless feeling, because that's the guy's supposed to be your hero, and she's just sitting there and comatose. And I'm like, oh my God, get up and do something. So yeah, it was very, it had aspects of everything in it that was social commentary. So it's like the women was helpless. The black guy shouldn't be the hero, so they shot him, even though he was the hero. Everybody was strange against each other, and it was just, it was a lot.
Yeah. I mean, even looking at it from a 2025 lens, there's so much that you can still talk about. And like, you were talking about how like Barbara was just so useless. Okay, but how would you feel if you were literally just attacked by a man who killed your brother and then started coming after you? And the next thing you know, there's more things like him that are trying to come after you. You meet this random stranger who's being extremely assertive. Like, I get what Ben was trying to do, but he was extremely assertive. He was extremely assertive, and he was to a point he wasn't being kind to her, considering she's kind of like in a I don't even know what the fuck is going on right now kind of like phase. I think a lot of us would be in that like frozen WTF kind of deal. And she just had a full like psychotic break. Like she was not there because she couldn't be. Mentally, she could not be there. But how many of us could be there? I mean, I know we're not normal individuals.
No.
So I don't kind of put us in that same category, but how many of our friends and family would pull a Barbara? Like how many
I know a
people
lot of
do?
women that would do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a lot of men who would do it. Like
Yeah, sure.
there's just human beings that after seeing their loved one be murdered, after they've been attacked, and that person comes back and tries to continually attack them, chases them down. Yeah, you get to a point where you're like, I don't even know what to do anymore because the flight didn't work and fight isn't happening. So disassociation, here we go.
It also had like flavors of like COVID a little bit there too, where you're like the beginning of it, nobody knew what it was, nobody knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to stay indoors?
Yeah.
Are we supposed to do what?
Mm-hmm.
And that was really prevalent throughout the film. Like at the beginning, like you said, she has this trauma that happens. They don't know that they're, ghouls or zombies. They don't even know.
Yeah.
They've never heard of any. They don't know what any of that is. It's just
Yeah.
like weird people attacking. Why are they attacking? Wait, they're not
Yeah.
real. Like there's no other than the radio sort of giving a little bit of information, but it was piecemeal, So yeah,
This is what we found out recently.
yeah, and then everybody's like, okay, what's that mean? And that was
yeah.
part of if you're in that situation, because a lot of us were, where you're just like, I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't. They say I can't go out without something. Okay, so I got to stay in. Okay, now what? Okay, what are we doing now? And it's that very much like not having information that also played into that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like Ben kept asking her, well, where's this? Where's this? Are you from here? And she's just like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And yet he still is like, get it together. Give me the information that I want. And it's like, bitch, she's in the same spot as you. She don't know. Like, I mean, granted, as like outsiders watching, we can see these things. But yeah, it was very interesting to see the dynamics, though, between everybody. Like the male egos butting heads and the different women who were like, I mean, even in Helen was like, I don't even care anymore. Like, can we just get this done and over with? Like, I just don't even want to be here. And Judy, who's like, I just want to call mom and dad. Like, you kind of you feel for each of the characters for different reasons, but you can see the dynamics, and you can even see. I don't feel for Henry either. I mean, the only reason that he has any humanity is because he tried to die next to his daughter. Like, and that's about it. But how many of us know a Henry? Like even, I hate playing devil's advocate on this, but even the cops and the people who are like taking down like the ghouls and stuff, like how many of them are like, we don't know what this is. So unless somebody is like pure up front with us that they're good and clean, we're just gonna snipe everybody and do it before it's too late and we end up getting caught in it.
Although they were pretty far away from the house when they shot, I will just say that. They had some distance still. I think they could have maybe waited a few seconds.
Oh no. Yeah. No, they definitely could have waited. But I mean, it's still the idea of they don't really still know what it is. They don't know how contagious it is. There's a lot that they didn't know. And so would it have mattered if Ben was Black or if he wasn't Black? Would they have shot him no matter what? It's implied by a lot of people's thoughts process that was the reason why they shot him, but we don't actually know that for sure. And like the scene upon which you're seeing Ben coming through, you can't tell if he's infected or not, you know? And so it's one of those shoot now, ask questions later, or, you know, risk it for the biscuit. Like, and at that point, but I do feel like, because one of the reasons why they went through so many studios to get this film made was because of the ending. A lot of them wanted Ben to live. And Romero's like, no, he has to die. He's like, that's part of the narrative. He has to die. Everybody has to die. And so the fact that Romero and Russo were so like hell bent on this has to be the ending, I think it's to make us think. And I think it's something that I'm glad that they stuck to their guns about. But speaking of Ben, that portrayal of that character was absolutely phenomenal. Duane Jones did an amazing job. It was groundbreaking for its time, and just even still today, it's extremely groundbreaking. How does his performance challenge racial stereotypes, specifically of that era? How does his character's treatment reflect the social attitudes? And just overall, what do you guys think? Especially considering that Romero actually rewrote Ben's character, because originally it was supposed to be some like truck driver who was like Mr. Grumpy Pants. And after seeing Ben audition, he's like, or Duane audition for Ben, he's like, nope, rewriting it, and wrote the character specifically for Duane Jones to play. So what do you guys think? Who would like to go first?
I mean, in a way, he kind of does fit the stereotype of an assertive black man. But for this movie, you need that assertiveness because you have to get things done. But because in the 1960s, you don't often see a black lead. I mean, you had Sidney Poitier before that. You had, actually, no, Sidney Poitier was like one of the most distinguished black leads you ever had.
Yeah, that was just the year before, too. That was 1 year before that only. That was 67, right?
Yeah.
Guess Who's Coming to Dinner?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking?
Yeah. And then you have, Doug Jones in a horror movie. You don't really see that typical, black people in horror movies, and he was a lead. And it shaped the movie.
You mean Duane?
I mean Duane, sorry. Did I call him Doug? Doug Jones?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm like, wait, who's Doug?
Dwayne. And for him, because, Romero was like, oh no, I'm choosing him because he's good. Like, he didn't choose him based on his color. He chose him because he was good. He's like, he was this phenomenal. And, just to have a director is like, oh no, he's good. And I'm going to change this character to be, just as good as you can be. But, his treatment of in the movie, because, Henry was just talking down to him, kind of like, how back in the day, I hate to say it, a lot of white men were like, boy, you need to do this, boy, you need to do that. And, you have this black man saying, no, what are you doing? You need to think logically. You stay in the basement, you have no way out. Even if those things, I understood, as a person who loves horror and a person who's logical, yeah, you need to have, a back way out. And his treatment reflected that time period, even at the end, because, I understood that, the hunting party didn't know if he was alive or dead. But at the same time, I would be like loose consider. It's like, hey, are you alive? Say something. Okay, cool, you're alive. But they didn't. They was they were just shooting people. I mean, and so in a way, it was kind of like a lynching. I hate to say it like that, but it was in a way, it was kind of a lynching. Ben was the hero that we needed and wanted, but at the same time, he had to die because of the fact of people are afraid, and you could be afraid of a black man, and you could also be afraid of the ghouls. So in a way, they were afraid of both because the hunting party was mostly made. I like to say that it was mostly made of white people. So there's double implications right there. I hate to say it like that. Yeah. So I actually enjoyed the fact that Romero chose Duane for this character, and I enjoyed the fact that Duane brought Ben to be more a realistic character because most people wouldn't have done what he did. And yeah, it was controversial, but at the same time, he brought that character to life and he made him a relatable person, not just as a black man, but as a person in that situation.
Yeah, no, I agree. Jake, how about you?
Well, I'm curious. Now that you said that, and I didn't know that it was rewritten, after the
Yeah.
fact, after the thing. So I wonder, it was the story the same that everybody died before
Hmm.
they rewrote it for him? Was that still a thing?
Yeah.
And was everybody going to die the same way and everything? Like that, I guess
I
that's
don't know about this. I don't know about the same way. What I saw from interviews and a couple of articles was that they rewrote after the script was very loose. It was almost kind of
right.
like how Marvel does scripts where it's like
We'll
this
get
is
it
kind of
later.
what we want to have
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of wiggle room with the script, but he had the characters like set. But when he met Dwayne, he's like, nope, I'm rewriting Ben. He's going to be completely different. But he was supposed to essentially be the main character. So like the two main characters were Barbara and Ben, and that was always the case. So
Hmm.
at least from what I gathered.
And
Right.
they were kind of foil for each other because it was a black man taking care of a white woman,
Hmm.
and that's kind of strange in that time period. That was kind of a little bit
Yeah,
controversial. And
yeah,
if you had
it
Ben as a
was.
truck driver, as a grumpy truck driver, I don't think it would work in this context. Because I could see a lot of ways on how it would work, but I was like, Ben as Ben right here is better than Ben as a truck driver.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I wish I could remember what article it was, but the article was interesting to read. I'll have to see if I can find it and I'll post it up on all of our stuff. But it really did talk about like the original, the original idea for this movie, it was going to be an alien movie, not a zombie
Hmm.
film. And then they realized aliens are expensive. And then they realized, ooh, if we do aliens, it's going to kind of be like the B-rated horror stuff back in like the 50s. We're not going to do that. So then they were like, okay, let's do these ghouls that aliens revived with their radiation because so they could still have their alien aspect. But then Ben would have been a grumpy truck driver who ended up having issues and went and did what Ben did in the film, but he was just this grumpy, angry truck driver who is now stuck and doesn't have his truck and trying to figure out how to survive and having to deal with Barbara having a mental break and stubborn Henry down in the basement and all that.
So was the truck driver also, I mean, was there any like racial specificity for the truck
Mm-mm.
driver?
No.
So I just find that really interesting that he's going to cast that and then it ends up being the way that it was written. I guess for me, that's real, sort of on purpose there, by saying, okay, I want this guy in my film, but it's 1968, and what do I want to say now? And I think that does play into, what choices were made throughout the film.
Mm.
Like I agree. Like as you said, Karen, about the, here's a black man, like basically not just taking care of the white woman, but definitely like as it's kind of almost abusing, throughout the whole thing, like, telling her exactly what needs to happen and yelling at her and so forth. And that was, I mean, I just love the, they were really trying to make something that kind of was of the time and very much on the edge of what was happening in the moment.
It was very realistic. And I think
Yeah.
that's what Romero wanted was it to be something that like if this really happened in real life, how would people react and how would people respond and what would they do?
But it's just, I just find that change that you said interesting. And again,
Mm-hmm.
at the time, like the time that this is put out is just a really, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a perfect time to make a statement like that, which is, I think it's really cool, to have that, especially given
Yeah.
the fact that there was not a lot of precedent before, like you said. It was very brand new to
Mm-hmm.
have a lead character,
I mean, he's the
like that.
first lead character in a horror film to be African American.
Yeah. And
So,
that's innovative, man. That's pushing the boundaries. I love it.
Lisa, what about you?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with what Karen was talking about because, yes, he was a hero. He was also the protagonist as well as, and when Henry was like telling him, no, well, you need to listen to me, he's like, no, I don't think so. And just the whole taking care of Barbara and telling her what to do, everything. And it was definitely a social commentary. And I kind of sort of agree about the ending with Karen a little bit because it was, I don't know if it was intended or not, but it felt like it, where they shot him. So I don't know.
I think so too.
I think that was
Yeah.
intentional because they were so full of fear and everything. And when people are full of fear, they make irrational decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Dwayne's performance as a whole was just otherworldly.
Oh, yeah.
He was an intellectual, well put together, well mannered, well spoken Black man in this film. And he showcased a level of character because he called Henry out on things like, you heard us up here and you did nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're a piece of garbage. Like, he called him out. Like, he's like, no, you're a garbage human being. I mean, even Helen, told him, she's like, we knew what was happening up there. We could have gone up and helped. I mean, granted, she still didn't do anything to help, but she was also trying to take care of her kid. So I can kind of understand. But like, it's just one of these deals of like, he was not what you would have normally seen on the screen. And he defined a lot of things for being a hero because he wasn't always right about everything. There were things that, he's like, oh, let's do this. And it did not work out well for them.
No.
But at the same time, he was proactive. He's like, let's take these precautions. Let's do these things. Let's be productive in our time as we're sitting here waiting instead of just sitting around twiddling our thumbs. And I think even to this day, there's things that we can learn from what was shown. And again, Romero was very much about what you see is supposed to be like reality. If this like truly happened today, how would they have reacted? How would they have responded? What would they have done? And this is what he thought would have happened. This is what he thought people would have reacted like. And I think that's kind of interesting because you can even see in the way that the kids kind of reacted to Ben. Like the one kid wasn't really fazed that he was a Black man. He's like, okay, you know what? You're making sense. Like let's come up here. Let's do this. Versus Henry, who was a little bit more jaded and a little more, no, you're not going to tell me what to do. So I thought it was really interesting. And I think it's something that I always like hearing people's different takes on it. It's something where I'm like, okay, where do you stand? I'd like to hear. Why do you stand this way? What did you take from it? So
be proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah.
Yes. We're going to go back to like the broadcast because we mentioned it earlier. The broadcast, the radio play, actually kind of like a significant part in this film, keeping the characters and us, the viewers, all kind of on the same page about basically everything that was happening. How do you guys feel like that use of media kind of shaped the narrative? And what does it say about trust and authority during a crisis when it comes to media?
I'm just going to say, and this may not be a popular opinion, but I think you could have done the movie with maybe, I don't know, 70% of that footage and it still would have been just fine. I think there's some parts that are a little fat as far as like how much of we needed to hear about whatever. And I kind of felt like a little more mystery would have been fine. That's just my opinion. I absolutely think it's needed. I just, it's very much probably the, 2025 sort of can't focus very long on any one thing on a screen mentality. It's like that interview's going pretty long. I wonder when they're going to be done with that. I want to get back to the house. Kind of maybe that might be part of it, for me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm looking through a modern lens a little too much, but I think, like I said before, I mean, it's an obvious device now to be like, oh, just put in some newsreel footage or something that kind of tells you what's happening in the moment. And I don't know how much other. I mean, I'm not an expert here as far as what happened before, this, as far as how often they used it in horror movies before or not. But it felt pretty kind of innovative at the time as well, just using that to keep the story going. And again, really great way to, keep your budget down because, hey, you just put that in there and, like I had already said before about that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you on that.
I definitely think that it did help push the the story along. I think it also increased the fear because it's like they'd say one thing and then we're just like, oh, what happened just now, which kind of helped with the tension in the story. And I think it was perfectly the tempo for the newsreels and the radio and everything just added so much to it.
Yeah, yeah.
It was, there were other movies that implemented the same technique, and I enjoyed it this way because of the fact that you necessarily don't have to leave your home to see what's going on because cut down on budget. You don't have to go to a lot of places, so use the newsreel, use your radio, use the TV. So getting little bits of information here and there helps with the story and it helps with the pacing. But sometimes some of the information was like you could have just shut it down in like a sentence, not a full monologue. Because after that, I'd be like, okay, so this is what I need to do. This is what I need to do. I need to do this. But yeah, I enjoyed the little news segments and I enjoyed the broadcasting. And I got to learn, you get to learn a little more like how this whole thing started and why is the dead coming back to life and blah, 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 what you should do. And after I was watching this, I was like, huh. Because it reminded me of watching Dawn of the Dead, the remake,
Yeah.
when they were talking about the newsreel at the same time. I was like, huh, Dawn of the Dead. This is good. Keep on going. Use this whole template. I like it.
Yeah. I loved the fact that they used the newsreels. And I'm actually going to, this might be a hot take. I actually kind of wish they had the radio going the whole time because I liked how each time you did listen to the radio with them, it was new updated information, but it was like real time new updated information where they're like, well, now we know that these are actually dead people who have come back to life. They're not just lunatics like we reported an hour ago. So it was like, I would love to have more of that kind of just going on in the background. And as somebody with ADHD, every time I watch it, that would be something that I'd be like, oh, so what are they talking about now on the radio? Shush, main characters. I've seen your story 100 times. I want to hear the radio now. But I kind of liked the radio and the TV being that outside narrative that we being isolated in the house didn't have. And I think it just added tension. It added the unknown, which always gets everybody's heckles raised. And they're like, oh, what's going on? I don't get it. And hearing what they were saying, like, get to a safe point, don't hunker down anymore. And like all that, I thought that was kind of interesting to see it all. But at the same time, do you want us to stay in our houses or do you want us to go to the safe point? Like, like you're telling us multiple different things now. Like, is it going to be safer for me to go to the safe point? Because, a few hours ago when you told me to hunker down, there was only like 2 of those guys. Now there's 20. Now it's more dangerous for me to leave my house. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
go
ahead.
If you think about it, even if you go to the safe house, who's to say there's not going to be more? Because Ben was talking about like how he was at the diner and it was surrounded by like 50 of them, and all thing he heard was screams. So I'm like, do I want to be a central location with all these people where I could be like chowder, or do I want to be by myself where if I stay quiet, they won't know if I'm here?
Yeah, but the news is telling you, hey, this is what you need to do.
Right.
Like we even saw it like with COVID. Like
That's
one news station would say, like there was one news station would say, hey, this is what you need to do. Get this, do this, blah, 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 blah. And then like you'd have another news station or you'd have the government say, no, we want you to do X, Y, Z. Right. And there was a lot of different narratives on what we should be doing. And I was using air quotes there. Sorry, listeners, you can't hear the air quotations.
Just like a little smack
but
sounds.
Like,
there you go.
but we didn't know. And there was a lot of like misinformation that was getting spread through the news because they were trying to be real time. They were trying to stay like on top of it. And when does trying to be real time and staying on top of things and double checking your information and making sure all your stuff is correct, when does the ethical side come out?
Right.
And
yeah, I was going to say, this is my comment about the COVID thing too. I mean, I think it was. I mean, it's not going to go podcast by accident, but I think it was.
It's relevant though. It
But it is. I
matches
think
what was
so.
happening.
But see, that's why I think that it's so effective that they did have two sort of messages that were going on in the film at the exact same time, because that is exactly what does happen, as we found out during a
Yeah.
crisis like this. Like, we think it's this right now, and we think it's relevant to you, for you to know that this is the information we have at the moment. And I think they even say it in the film several times. It's like, we're not sure about any, or they say something like that, like this is all we know at the moment, at the time, but we'll let you know more as we get there. And COVID was like that. Do you guys remember washing the groceries? That was a thing for about like a week or so. Everybody said to wipe down all your groceries, and then it was like, no, that's not a thing. But at that moment, it totally was. They're like, go make sure you clean everything, because that's what we think right now. And I just think,
And then they're like, oh, it doesn't spread that way.
yeah, exactly. But they didn't know that at the time, so they were just doing whatever it was at the moment. And I feel like the film's doing the same thing by having that contradictory stuff. And I think that was, I don't know. I mean, that really, it did add to it, like not knowing which thing is the right thing. I like that part of it.
I think it kind of also feels like, at the time when Spanish flu was happening, it was probably the same thing. And, all the, like, it's like, this is what's happening. We don't know, but this is what could be happening. You should do this.
Yeah.
Okay. I think like every, like when we started having, technology and radio broadcasts, I think it's like, it started like, like that for every time period when there's a natural disaster or a biological disaster. It's like, hey, we don't know what it is, but this is what we know at the time.
Yeah.
So that's what it really feels like throughout the whole ages. It's like, we don't know what it is, but this is what it feels like at the time.
Well, I mean, even look at it in comparison to like what was happening. Like you had Vietnam going on, and you had, all these other like post World War II, post Korea. You had all these other things where there was ramifications of what was happening, and they were like, oh, by the way. Hey guys, that thing that's happening there? We got some new details. And so, I like how it did kind of showcase the uncertainty that media can bring, especially if it is breaking news and just reported and like just reported, but hasn't been double checked and verified that it's correct. Like, that kind of thing. I mean, we've talked about when we did Cannibal Holocaust about the efficacy of media and journalism and how it can be represented. But let's kind of dive into some of the technical side of this film, because there's some really cool technical sides to this film, especially for the budget, as we kind of already talked about. It is a black and white film in a time when color was kind of king. They're like, nope, we want to do color. Why did you film it in black and white? What's wrong with you? You could have color, the makeup and practical effects, the sound design, which actually Henry was one of the sound design / editors also. You have the editing and even like some of the documentary style filmmaking to it. Like it wasn't just like a straight narrative. There was like a kind of like a documentary kind of feel to it at times. It all kind of worked together to create the tension, the atmosphere, kind of everything. Which of these aspects do you guys think was like the greatest impact on the film's effectiveness of being such a groundbreaking horror film?
I would have to say the fact that it was in black and white. Because if you would have done it in color, it would have lost the whole, for me, it would have lost the whole narrative. Because for me, horror back in that time period doesn't need to be in color. It could be like, as long as you have a good story, good technology and all that, it could be fantastic. I've seen the colorized version of this movie and I was not impressed.
Yeah.
I hate to say it. I wasn't. I mean, I'm like, it took away something from it. It really did. So I enjoyed the fact that Romero stuck to his guns and said, hey, no, I want it in black and white, because it paid homage to all the older movies, all the older horror movies. And I enjoyed that. And like I said, I watched the colorized version. I was like,
Do you want to know why there was a colorized version?
Why?
I do.
Because they didn't do the copyright correctly. So originally the film was going to be called Night of the Flesh Eaters. And they were like, the title's a little, maybe don't do that title. And so the distributor decided to redo the title, and they redid it as Night of the Living Dead, but they didn't update the copyright. So then when the film got published, it didn't have a copyright on it. And so within like a month of it being released, it was public domain. And so people were able to take it and colorize it and do all the things. And is the reason why Romero redid it in the 90s was so that way he could actually get paid for it, because they ended up losing out on millions and millions of dollars. Like him, the cast, the crew, whole nine, because it got put into public domain so quickly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I also like the 1990 version with Tony Todd in it too. That was actually a very good version.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And there was stuff that he did differently in that one because he was like, oh, I guess it would have been better if I had done it like this. So gave him like a redo. But what else did you guys think about
any of the colorized versions? Not great.
Yep. So what else did you guys think about the technical side of it all? Lisa, since you're our special effects guru.
Okay, so basically, the chocolate syrup, I know why they did that, even though it's gross to think they were eating the leftovers with chocolate syrup, is because in Psycho, they used chocolate syrup to make the blood go down the drain because it looked more like blood at the time. And as far as black and white was concerned, I love the black and white graininess of it. I love the angles of the camera and the minimal makeup, even some without the makeup, because of the lighting and everything, just added the isolation and the tension.
Oh, yeah.
And everything technically I love in this film. There's not anything in there that they have done that I don't like. I mean, black and white gives you the nice eerie isolation feel. The one house, the ghouls coming after you, some of them gross, some of them not. It's just everything. I mean, it just added everything. And I think the way that it was like it's a piece of artwork is how I feel. And I agree with Karen. Sure. I hate the colorized version. I don't hate it, but I don't like it because it takes away from the eeriness. I mean, I understand why they did it now that you told us the trivia, but still, I love the original, just the whole feeling, the angles, the black and white, everything. And sometimes being minimal is better, it has a better effect than going all the way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure.
I'm less, hating the colorized than you guys. That's fine. I mean, I guess I still like the movie and it didn't distract me because I think the first time I saw it was the colorized version, and then I saw the black and white later. So I don't know that it was a long time in between the two. So I don't remember if I had any kind of I might not even remembered if it was color the first time I saw it. But I got to second the lighting. The lighting in this movie, there's some really creative things. Not being afraid of having things in shadow is a really hard thing for a lot of filmmakers, especially in the 60s. There was not a lot of let's have a lot of shadow on film, and there was lots of dark corners and shadows that were happening here, and it was really, really effective. I mean, sort of avant-garde feel anyway for that time period. The little quick little corpse at the top of the stairs was really great. Loved that little moment. And
the eyes were ping pong balls.
Yes, and it was just quick enough. You know what I mean? Where it was just like a little quick thing that the rest of it you fill in with your brain. I thought it was a really good editing choice there. I did wonder at one point. I was like, buddy, you don't want to start that fire a little further away from the porch? Like that might take down the whole house there. You don't want to. You want to just give it a good 3 or 4 feet. Like every time you started a fire, I was like, well, that's right there on the porch. You know that, right? But I mean, there were definitely some things, but if I don't know, you watch films from the 60s that were not this one, it was pretty realistic as far as the effects, I thought. I think they did a great job, specifically because it wasn't, until we got a little bit later that they were doing some better effects and things, right? So this was I thought overall I felt like I could watch this today and not feel, if I didn't see the year it was in, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, I get the social commentary, but I don't know, maybe this was later on, or you know what I mean? Like it still felt kind of forward for its time for me.
Yeah, I think because it was in black and white, I think is what makes it so impactful when you get the visuals. When you like, you know, now knowing that it was chocolate syrup and not, fake blood, you're like, okay, well, that's kind of interesting. That's different. But at the same time, it doesn't pull you away. Like the fact that a lot of the zombies looked like they were like just recently deceased was great because you're like, okay, that makes sense on like how they move and why they're able to do the things that they can do. But then at the same time, you're sitting there and you're unnerved by the darkness. You're unnerved by the creepiness, the sounds, the like even again, like that basement, they did a great job turning it from like a editing room to the basement where there was like a dead child.
The basement.
Like, yeah. I mean, even with like the truck explosion, I mean, technically that's not how it would happen, but I get it. It works. Like, it was good special effects. It was a great, like, oh no, the kids died. That sucks. But at least they died together, and, it's just, I don't know. It's one of those deals. I think having minimal, like the minimum budget, which made it so like the effects were on the minimalist side, but they were quality minimal effects. It was like, we don't have to do big, huge budget, whatever, in order to get the same kind of storytelling that we want. And he relied on the human reaction, which is to be on the fearful side of things and to have something that even kind of looks realistic in the shadows to unnerve you. And so, I mean, there's a reason why he's the king, one of the kings of horror. Like, he just knew how to tell a great horror story and visually be able to tell that story. We're going to be wrapping this up here in just a little bit. So I got one more question. The bleak and abrupt ending, we've kind of mentioned it a few different times. It has left a very long-lasting impression on audiences. How do you guys feel about this film and other films' conclusions where it challenges the traditional horror tropes or even reinforces some of the themes of hopelessness and maybe even societal breakdown? Lisa, do you want to start us off on that?
Sure. I have to say that the ending was perfect. I mean, unfortunately, some of the horror tropes nowadays, it's like, yay, we're going to say where everybody's saved. Sometimes I think this was definitely a step in the right direction because the ending was not just the end, it was just the end of everything. And sometimes nobody has a happy ending. I mean, honestly, if I could give an example, is like Bird Box. I watched that and it was supposed to have a horrible ending, but the director goes, no, I want a happy ending. It's like, no, I would have rather had this desperate ending because that was part of the book. But, Hollywood is what Hollywood is. But I kind of think that in horror, sometimes you just got to have the endings that, are not solvable. And it's the societal breakdown because what would happen in real life? Do we think it'd be a happy ending or would it actually be that horrible? Everybody's going crazy and not having any logic because of fear. So, I think the ending was fantastic. It opens your eyes to what could possibly happen.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure.
I mean, in a way, I understood the ending, but at the same time, I understood the ending and I was happy with the ending, but at the same time, I wasn't happy with the ending because you want, as a Black person or interracial person, you want to see your hero that's the same color as you survive.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see him live another day to fight and maybe create an army, of other survivors to fight off these undead. But in a way, I enjoyed the ending because not all heroes survive. And you have to have that bleakness kind of like in Dawn of the Dead when in the 78, where the original ending was both Fran and Peter were supposed to die. It would have been a more tragic movie because you saw the helplessness, but they both survived because
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood didn't want to see a pregnant woman die. But pregnant women die all the time in real life.
Yes, they
So
do.
yeah, so it's like part of me enjoyed the ending for what it was, and a part of me was like, I want my hero to survive because I would like to have somebody who's the same color as me survive in a horror movie because a lot of times we all know a lot of black people die.
Mm-hmm.
They're usually are the first people or the second to last, to die.
Yeah. Jake, how about you?
I mean, after our panel before is Sweeney Todd, poor Tobias. That's basically
Oh,
what's happening
yeah.
here too, right? I mean, it's more tragic. Shakespeare knew this. It's more tragic to everybody die at the end. That's the idea. That's the
Mm-hmm.
lasting impression. And I think I agree with Karen. I wanted him to make it and fight another day, and like you said, just go out there and start, getting a group together, and maybe been that part of that group to go hunt them down or something that end up hunting him down. I want that, but at the same time, I really enjoy a tragedy, and this was a tragedy, and it ended the way tragedy is supposed to, where nobody survives, and everybody doesn't make it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, life does not guarantee happy endings. And again, I've said this throughout the podcast, but Romero is like, no, what would actually truly happen? And what could truly happen is not everybody makes it. For one reason or another, not everybody makes it. And so I respect the fact that was the direction that he went. If somebody did not want Ben to survive outside of it just being like a good, like tragic story ending, that person needs to go to therapy because I feel like everybody was like, no, not Ben. Like, if you didn't have that reaction, I feel really truly believe something is wrong with you. But isn't that the point of a good film? Is for you to have those emotional ties, for you to have that reaction of, no, not that character. Like, because you've fallen in love with that character, you want to cheer on that character. I mean, even with like a lot of like the final girl tropes, like how many of us are like, please make it out, please make it out, please survive this. Like, how many of us sit there throughout the movie and like hope and pray for that? So we are supposed to always be cheering, but life again doesn't guarantee us happy endings. And so to challenge that tradition of somebody coming out unscathed, it hits home. It brings people back to reality from being in a fantasy world to a certain extent, especially when you're dealing with the undead and whatnot. But it is that time. So let's go ahead and let's give our final thoughts on Night of the Living Dead. We will also rate the film. We do 1 through 5 skulls. 1 because they tried. 5 because it is chef's kiss. It is perfection. So, everybody, what do you rate, and what are your final thoughts on this film? Lisa, you want to start us off?
Sure. It is a beautiful piece of art and film. I rated a 5 out of 5 skulls. I think everybody should watch it.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic. Great storytelling, even if it is a tragic at the end. Of course, we didn't want the main character to pass, but still, the tragedy it pushes the story as well. I can't praise it enough. Special effects, lighting, everything. It's just a beautiful piece of work.
Yeah,
So 5
absolutely.
skulls for sure.
Absolutely. Karen, how about you?
Oh, 5 skulls. I mean, yeah, even though I have a love-hate relationship with the ending, I enjoy the movie. I enjoy the storytelling, the complex characters, and the technicality of the movie or lack thereof, because they had a low budget and they made a damn good movie with a low budget.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 out of 5.
Awesome. Jake, how about you? What are your final thoughts and skull rating?
Oh, I mean, I'm on the same bandwagon for the 5 out of 5 as well. I mean, it's just such an innovative piece of filmmaking for '68.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that are brand new in this film, or just like pushing the envelope or, whatever. You wouldn't have Walking Dead now without, the big thing in that, of course, in a lot of, zombie kind of genres isn't about the zombies. It's about the people that are trying to, fight off this whole zombie thing. And I think what made this movie really great is that it is a story about people being trapped in something, whether it was zombies or not. Like, I don't know, even the or ghouls, like, I don't know that they were really, I mean, they came through the windows, at some point, but really they were just sort of this threat that was off screen that was a vehicle for a really good character driven story.
Yeah. No, this is 5 out of 5. Absolutely. This is, I mean, even with this being Romero's like theatrical debut, this is his first feature film that he made. He knocked it out of the park. The story was there, the effects were there. I think he did an amazing job getting the cast. Him and Russo wrote an amazing story, even if it was kind of like vague-ish according to the cast. But like they told an amazing story, and this is something that I know it's taught in film classes. I kind of want this to be taught in schools and like high schools. I think it should be something that senior year in your English class you should study this film, because it's perfect for storytelling. It's perfect for showing that you don't always have to have something happening on the screen in order for the story to progress. And you can touch on social subjects without being disrespectful to any other social aspect. And it hit the nail on the head on literally everything. It's seriously a film that I think I'm always going to be learning something new about it. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things that you can do with a piece of work, is have somebody constantly find something new to fall even more in love with that piece of work. So our lovely little ghouls, come to our social media and tell us all about that. But before we go, because it is Jake's first time, and it's now my favorite part of the show, the electric chair. You, sir, are now strapped in.
All right.
How do you feel? Are you nervous?
Not really. Not for the questions, but the chair maybe a little bit,
I mean, we've survived it, so you're good.
Okay.
All righty. So the first question of the electric chair is, what is your favorite horror villain?
This is really hard. Do I get to hear your guys's at the end of it either, or no? I don't.
No, you gotta go back to our very first episode.
Right. Fair enough.
Because we all answered on the electric chair on the first day. Yep.
All right, that's fine. And it was a real struggle. So I'm gonna tell you my favorite, but then I've got a couple more I just have to throw in as something else. Sorry, there's a lot. It was really, really difficult.
There's a lot of villains out there, so I get it.
And it's a lot of horror. It's really hard to pin that down. But that was my pun for my answer there. Pinhead is going to have to win it from Hellraiser. That is
nice.
By far one of my favorites. I grew up with that franchise, sort of, that was the thing. And just, he's got some of the best one-liners in all of horror. They're just amazing. We have such sights to show you is like one of my favorite lines ever in anything. But he's pretty, fantastical and not real life. So if you're talking about a character, a villain character that is more grounded, I would go with Jack Torrance in The Shining.
Ooh,
one of my favorites. Yep. Just
nice.
Not just in the movie, but the book as well. I thought was really, really solid. A sort of evil person. And my final one, side character, one of my favorites ever is Alice Cooper in The Prince of Darkness.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When he stabs the guy with the bike, you know what I mean? And he doesn't have any lines in the entire thing, and he's just sort of this presence. I don't know. He was just so creepy. And the fact that he was Alice Cooper was like, that's just the side honorable mention thing that I had to, I was like, how can I not? I can't pick him as the best one also.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Pinhead is like, Pinhead is like the best. I mean, he does have like the best one-liners, especially when he says, "We'll tear your soul apart." Oh my God.
No
Yes.
Oh my
tears.
God.
No tears.
Yeah, no
No
No,
tears.
no
tears.
tears. Oh, there's so many, like, yeah, don't, I don't remember the line exactly. It was like, don't shed tears because, it's a waste of good
Wait, the
suffering.
Suffering,
That's what it is.
yes.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Yes.
Oh, it's so
Yep.
good.
Alrighty. Next question. What is your horror hot take?
Well, I don't know how hot take this is, but this is sort of my soapbox. Jump scares are the candy of horror. That's my hot take. Like,
Okay.
it's really tasty, quick shot of sugar, but it's not substantive at all. Like, if you just give me a movie of jump scares, I walk out going, eh. I need, just like this movie we just saw. I want good characters. I want people. I want the storyline to be dynamic. If it's just a bunch of jump scares, I'm not in. I mean, I am in. I enjoy them, but it's not like it's a
It's not your
lasting sort of.
favorite.
But also, it's not a lasting thing. It doesn't stay with me afterwards. Like this one stayed with me for a while, and I
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff. I like it to be sort of still permeating in my brain, and jump scares just don't do that for me.
It's
No,
kind of
that
like a
makes
lot of
sense.
like the A24 movies that, that art house horror. It stays
Yeah.
with you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Alrighty. It is time for Kiss, Mary, Kill, but Night of the Living Dead edition.
right.
So your choices are Barbara, Helen, and Judy.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
You gotta now. I know Barbara. Which one's Helen and Judy? I gotta
Helen
make sure I get it.
Helen is Mr. Cooper's wife, so
Right.
Henry's wife, and then Judy is like
Oh, the
young couple. Yeah.
Okay. So it's Kiss, Marry, or Kill. Is that right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Kiss, Mary, Kill.
Hmm. Um. So I'm gonna start with Barbara, and I think, although, like you said, a lot of you were saying it, she's kind of annoying throughout. I still think I would go ahead and kiss Barbara, only to just try to help her out and reassure. It would not be necessarily a romantic kiss, but more of a, hey, can you, I'm here for you kind of thing. Because she just seemed like she was going through it. So that's my answer for the kiss. And then
Okay.
marry and kill. I don't know, because like if I marry, the the one that's like, I don't know, I think I'll put it this way, I think it would be less creepy if I married the older woman, so I'm going to do that. But but I'm just saying, only because also that I think she was pretty practical in what she was saying when her husband is, I really like someone to call me on my bullshit if it happens, you know what I mean? I kind of,
Yeah.
and she seems like the kind of person that would do that. Now that'd be somebody I'd want to be around for longer. And then I guess that leaves killing the younger
Judy.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really have a reason. She's just
So you let her die in that truck explosion.
yeah, she can go. It's fine. I honestly, I mean, not saying she was really like superfluous to the story, but she was kind of on the fringe. She was kind of she could have had more to do. What's that?
No, that's fair.
It wasn't really interesting because you're like, oh, she's what purpose in the story is for you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if she went away, I'm not saying, oh, she didn't have to be a part of the story, but she was a little on the side there, needed more development.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. If we were to switch it and give you the three main guys, do you know who you'd pick?
Sure. Let's see. But see, like Ben, I mean, I would do both kiss and marry. Maybe I would.
I feel like Mary implies.
Yeah.
Yes.
You get all the privileges of marriage. So
exactly. So yeah, Mary. And then who do we got? Sorry,
Henry, and then the kid. I think his name is Tom.
Oh, yeah. Tom, the one who's like, hey, we should go down the cellar anyway.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of flip-flopped on his stance, really.
Yeah, he did.
Whoever had the best argument, he went with.
I mean, it's of course I'm gonna kill the guy. I'm sorry, the names are just totally Henry. Yeah, yep. Henry. Sorry, dude. Although I will say a little bit devil's advocate in defense of Henry. I don't know, would they have survived if they'd all gone down to the cellar? Because they all came through the windows. I mean, did he have a point? You know what I mean? Would it have been easier to just hole up there? I don't know. Like, would they even saw them, heard? I don't know. There's a
Yeah.
lot of entry points for upstairs. This is all I'm saying. So,
Yeah.
that's a little point. He didn't deliver the point well, but yeah.
Yeah.
And so
No,
that'd leave
I
kiss
get
for the other guy. So yeah.
there you go.
I mean, I'm killing his girlfriend, so that probably be all right then.
I mean,
you know,
it's a consolation prize.
yeah, there you go.
All right. And your final question on whether or not you're going to be able to survive the electric chair.
Oh.
What two fictional characters of any genre would you want with you to survive a horror film?
Okay. I've got two. Yeah, the two. I've got one that's almost a cheat because the powers that this character has could just undo anything. So I don't know if that's a realistic thing, but I would take Anthony from the Twilight Zone, the movie. I don't know if you remember that one, but he's the kid that has the omnipotent powers. And so like he could just think anything that was an issue out of existence and I'd be fine. So Anthony would take care of all of it. But if we're not, having omnipotence as part of the thing, my character to survive anything would absolutely be Roland Deschain from the Dark Tower series. I don't know if you guys have ever read it, the Stephen King stuff, but he is a badass with a gun, and in a pinch, I would like him with me under any circumstance.
There you go. There you go. Nice choices. You survived. Yay!
Yes.
Your sticker will be in the mail at some point whenever I get a chance.
Get a sticker? I didn't even know that. That's
we have a sticker. Oh, I don't have one near me.
I survived the electric chair. Is that what it says?
Yeah, it has an electric chair on it. Yeah, it has an electric chair on it, and it says "I survived" or Station Boo's electric chair.
I love it. I love that. I'm going to cherish that. I will put that somewhere very visible, and people will ask, "What's that?" And I'll just have to explain the whole thing. I love it.
You're like, I survived the electric chair, and all right, our lovely little ghouls, our fellow horrorholics. How many of you love the movie Night of the Living Dead? Come tell us on our social media. You can find us on all the things at Earth Station Boo. We're on Instagram, TikTok, X, Threads, Blue Sky. We've got a killer Facebook group. We have a Discord. You can also subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to podcasts, such as Apple, Google, Spotify, and of course, the tube of you, good old YouTube. So you can come and leave comments. We would love to chit chat with you all there. But friends, where can we find you? So Jake, if people want to come and talk to you, is there a place that they can do so?
Yeah, I do a podcast as well. It's called Theatrical Journey, where I interview former students and find out if theater is still a part of their life and what's happened since I saw them graduate, which is a really cool thing. I have be honest, it's been a second since I've done one of those because I've been busy, but I'm planning to do a whole bunch coming up. And then, you can always, if you're in the Atlanta area, you can come see our shows that we do at our high school. We're at midtowndrama.com. And like I said, if you're in the area, we'd love to see you there.
Cool,
I want to go tonight.
Yeah, that's right. We just did. We just blocked Santa Fe today in class, and it was really. It's one of my favorite songs. I just really enjoyed it. So
that's awesome, Lisa. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok.
Rock on. And Karen, where can they find you?
Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, formerly known as Twitter, TikTok, and Reddit.
Rock on. You can find me on all the things at Spill Tea Wine Media Mind. And as always, before we go, thank you so much. We could not do this podcast without y'all. Your love and support is tremendous. We cannot thank you enough. And Jake, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, it was awesome. I really enjoyed having a discussion with you guys about this movie. That was awesome.
Yay! And you'll get our list, so you'll know what all we're doing, and we would love to have you on again. So
I'd love to come back. Absolutely.
Rock on. Well, as always, stay spooky, our lovely little ghouls. That's a wrap for Earth Station Boo. Thanks for listening. Follow, share, and find all our links in our link tree. Until next time, stay spooky.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.